Hi everyone, I'm videoing outside this morning because I've got 3 kids inside doing homework, so you'll excuse the background soundtrack of all the birds. I'm living in the middle of the countryside. So I want to talk to you about energy availability in sport this morning. Now, it's something I've discussed with clients over the last couple of days, and it is one of the main issues that I have with clients, and it's getting them to eat enough. Now, not all of my clients are involved in sports, not all of them are athletes, and certainly not all of them are triathletes. Many of them are just looking to reduce their body weight a little bit or reduce their body fat for aesthetic reasons, for health reasons, and education is slowly starting to pick up on social media. People are starting to realize that creating a calorie deficit or creating an energy deficit is actually the only way that you're going to reduce your body fat. Reducing the amount of energy you're putting in versus the amount of energy that's going out is creating a negative energy balance, and that is what is going to result in overall body fat reduction. Now, that all seems very simple when you look at it that way. However, just to give you a little bit of background, we all have what is known as an RMR, or resting metabolic rate. This is the rate that our body burns energy when we're at rest, when we're doing absolutely nothing, sitting on the couch, feet up, literally not moving. Now, when you add in some extra elements to that, so your NEAT, the movement you do, me moving my hands like this, standing up, any of the movement you do that is not associated with exercise is your NEAT, and it's non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So it's the energy you burn just moving. Then you have the element that is your EAT, or the energy you burn, the extra energy you burn exercising. So if you have a planned run, if you have a planned cycle, if you decide in the middle of your day to get up out of your seat and do 10 reps on the stairs, that is your EAT, or your exercise activity thermogenesis. And then finally there is TEF, the thermic effective food. So that is the energy that is utilized in transferring food into energy in your body. So all these things contribute to our energy output, and they all result in a number that is our total energy requirements for the day. So you could have a resting metabolic rate of 1500 calories a day or 2000 calories a day, depending on your height, your weight, your gender, your lean muscle mass, or how much muscle you have compared to other tissue in your body. So all these things are going to impact your resting metabolic rate. And of course, then your total expenditure is going to depend on how much you move on a day-to-day basis, whether you're exercising, whether you're training in the gym, whether you're doing a long run or a long bike, or whatever exercise it is you're doing. Now, we've already said that we know creating a calorie deficit or a misbalance in energy, and an energy deficit, is going to result in fat loss, because if we're not putting the energy in by eating it or drinking it, then our body has to get it from somewhere, and generally it will get it from our fat stores. Now, what happens if we're not taking in enough energy, quite a considerable amount, and we're putting out loads of energy in our movement? When there's a small mismatch or a small imbalance, you do get that element of fat loss. But what happens if the mismatch is really large? What happens in our bodies? And this is where you might hear people say, God, I ate barely anything, and I'm really watching what I'm eating, and I'm eating really clean and really healthily, and I'm not losing weight, and I'm training 6 days a week, and I feel bloated, I feel horrible, I feel tired. And you kind of start to wonder what's going on here. Now, there is a condition called REDS, and I'm sure some of you have heard about it before if you're involved in sports. It is, I suppose, emerging more and more within the coaching circuit, and coaches are learning more about it. Now, it used to be referred to as the female athlete triad, but it's again starting to become more and more known that most of the symptoms that occur within this female athlete triad also occur in males, apart from one very important one, but we'll get to that in a second. So when you don't have enough energy going in on a consistent basis, but your energy going out is consistently large, your body is going to take your resting metabolic rate and decide, I'm using too much energy here for the simple things. I need to be really, really efficient with the energy I'm using, and I need to rein it back a small bit and hold on to it. So your resting metabolic rate might creep from 1500 or 2000 calories back down to 1400 calories, or back down to 1300 calories. So where you think your metabolic rate is, or whatever MyFitnessPal tells you it should be, might not actually be where it is, because your body has decided to slow things down. Now, some people refer to this as metabolic damage or starvation mode. It's not starvation mode, it's not metabolic damage. Damage implies that you've done something to break your metabolism, but this is exactly what your metabolic system is supposed to do in order to keep you alive. You cannot consistently undereat and overtrain and expect to get results. You cannot consistently undereat and overtrain and expect to consistently lose weight. If you are consistently undereating, your body doesn't say, okay, she hasn't taken in enough energy today, I'm going to reduce her ability to move. So if that was the case, I'd be on the couch slouched over going, oh, I haven't eaten enough today, I can't move, I have to have a biscuit or I have to have a big plate of dinner. Your body will start closing down or deregulating some of the systems that occur inside our bodies physiologically. The first one in females to go will be estrogen production. So this comes back to this notion of the female athlete triad. When you get a down regulation of estrogen production, there are a number of symptoms that can occur with that, mostly being moodiness, potential weight gain, fatigue, aching joints, gastrointestinal upset, bloating. Now, what can also occur is, because estrogen is actually bone protective, what we see is a secondary effect of a reduction in bone density. If you have long-term reduction in estrogen, over time that could result in missed periods. So instead of having a 28-day or a 30-day cycle as you may normally, that cycle might go out to 45, 55 days. You may miss a period, get another one a month later, and your periods might become irregular. Now that is a very, very much a big red flag up in the air. That is not supposed to happen. Coming into a peak training phase where you're eating really, really well and you're eating as much food as you can physically get in, stress, high training load, you might find that you miss a period at that peak training, or that your period stretches out 2 or 3 weeks. That is definitely a point at which you need to say, okay, I'm at peak here. Happens once I need to really knuckle down and get my nutrition on point and reel back in my training, because this is happening to me. If you continue in that phase of undereating, that's my dog coughing behind me, by the way. I better check him, hold on. He's fine. If you continue undereating and overtraining in this manner, it's very likely that you will lose your periods altogether. And it is very likely that that will then cascade into osteopenia or osteoporosis over a longer period of time. So you may start to notice that an athlete becomes more prone to injury, more prone to stress fractures. And if that athlete were to fall off a bike or were to have a fall running, it is far more likely that that fall would result in a fracture. There was some research done on male cyclists, and it was shown that actually, because of their low energy availability, and these guys were super lean competitive cyclists, they had osteopenia of the spine and of the pelvis, because obviously cycling is not a high impact sport and is therefore not bone protective. However, in triathletes, because of the running element of the sport, there was a little bit of a better result despite the low energy intake. When it comes down to fat loss, less calories, more exercise is not always the answer. It's about getting a balance, ensuring you have created a small energy deficit, and periodizing that with your training programs. So it's not just about always being in a calorie deficit. You don't want to be in that phase, but certainly shifting your calorie deficit, allowing for higher energy days, fueling for your sport. So if you are going out on a long bike on a Sunday, ensuring that you have a good intake of energy on Saturday and a good intake of energy on Sunday, that you're either at maintenance or just above. And even if you're eating on a day-to-day basis, your total energy requirements for that day, ensuring that if you're going to go out for that long ride, that you are fueling properly and that you're ensuring you eat well for recovery afterwards. So I just wanted to highlight this because, again, it is something that has come up more and more frequently, with the weather picking up and people deciding to get back out there on the roads, I'm seeing more and more people go, right, I've got to really clamp down now. After lockdown, I ate too much, I need to reduce what I'm eating, and I need to get out there and start running the roads. And it's not always the way. Hammering yourself from both sides is not sustainable. It's not allowing you to create a sustainable plan for your eating. It's not going to help your performance. In fact, it's probably going to limit your performance, and you may find that despite having a progressive plan, you yourself are not progressing. You may not be getting faster in your running. You might still be falling off on the hills. Your swimming might be suffering. And it's generally because you're overtraining and under-eating. It is also not going to be beneficial for your health in the long term. And when it comes to developing a sustainable weight loss plan, slow and steady always wins the race. And remember, periodization. If you're going to be down one week, you should be a little bit higher the next week. In the same way you periodize your training, you have to periodize a lower calorie intake. You cannot sustain it forever. And if you need any help with developing a sustainable plan, you know where I am.